Thank you very much indeed. Next week, the Government will consider and hopefully agree the latest iteration of our Climate Action Plan, which now is really backed up by significant powers in law for us to deliver the sectoral changes in energy, transport, agriculture, industry over the next 5, 10, 15 years, going towards net zero within 3 decades. And the scale of that change is, I don't think, really understood by any of us yet. It's going to have to change everything in a relatively short period of time, so that we play our part in avoiding our world burning, and that we also make sure that we're at the centre of this new industrial revolution that's taking place. This will be a switch towards a better system. It won't work otherwise. And I believe if you're looking at, in that perspective, there are certain lessons or certain approaches that we should take. Firstly, I think we should be open to the world. We should not go back. We tried a kind of a closed system where we were relying on just on our own resources, and it didn't work. We saw huge emigration in the 50s, 40s. That connection didn't, well, you laugh, but that's the lesson of history. It didn't cost it, but one of the reasons it did was because that we were leaving the country in such droves to go elsewhere. And we found and learnt the lesson, in my mind, that being open to the world and working with the world is actually good for our people. We are a wealthier country now than we were 50 years ago following that approach. And I don't disagree with De Valera and a lot of his ideas. It's quite green, actually, in many ways. But I don't believe we should switch back to a protectionist, nationalist approach to this revolution. It won't work. It won't work in terms of the scale and speed of change we need. It won't work in terms of the poverty it would bring our people. Well, yeah, but let us not go back to a protectionist, nationalist, closed system. And we do have to work in that regard within the European Union, where, and again, I don't think there's really realisation in this House yet, the scale of the legislative change that's coming from the European Union, 20 major pieces of legislation, because Europe is similarly going in this approach. And in that, there will be a real role for the state. It's been very important that we are engaged critically in the planning of how this revolution takes place, in how we deliver the grids, where there's a natural state monopoly, the likes of the transmission grid, so that the gas network grid, so that we transport and share and shape or deliver this power in a real way. There's a critical role for the state in setting the standards, the regulations, the rules for how this industrial revolution evolves. There's a real role for the state in being really investing in the research and in the intellectual innovation capabilities of our people to deliver the scale of change that's needed. There's a real role for our state. Yesterday, Simon Harris updating us in Cabinet that we have the highest level of apprenticeships ever, I think, in place now, all in this new construction, green construction area. Some 8,000, I think, apprenticeships up and running since this government has been formed. And there's a real role for the state and enterprise. Companies like Bord na Móna, Coillte, ESB, absolutely being centrally involved in doing it, in making the change, in putting up turbines, in investing in the new offshore and onshore infrastructure. And we're doing that at scale and speed. There's no restriction whatsoever in our state companies in that regard. But nationalising everything, in my mind, would kill the revolution here, would not deliver the scale and speed and variety of change that we need to make. And if I can, maybe just to set out how I see it working, because it is, as it says, changing everything. It's changing our transport system, our energy system, our heating system, our industrial system, the way we use our land, our entire agricultural system. And it's very integrated in terms of each of those actually connected to each other. The electrification of transport will change the electricity industry. The electrification of heat, the introduction of heat pumps will change it. The changes in the industrial system to start using their own power. We're not going back to the ESB of the 1970s, full stop. It would not work. Because what we need is every home to be part of the revolution to own some of the power. We need every business to be able to make the investments for the scale of change we need to make No, and nor the industrial plant, nor why would we restrict in an open approach to the world? Why would we say it can only be an Irish state company that can invest in renewable power? Why would we completely cut ourselves off in the ability to get the scale of funding we're going to need for this revolution by saying no one else can do it? Well, sorry, they are. We are just about to start our first auction process in the first of 7 offshore projects, which will, subject to getting to the consenting and go to the planning system, will be built this decade. Will deliver in time for us to meet the second of our 3 budgets, carbon budgets. We will set, as I set out in my own convention speech, really ambitious targets, the likes of 5 gigawatts of solar power that we want to deliver in the next 3 years. The ESB could not do it. Full stop, not a chance, and that means we wouldn't meet our climate targets. So if we were to accept this motion, you give up on the climate change agenda, in my mind, and I don't see for what. For an ideological position that it has to be only the ESB. Well, I don't agree. And the mechanisms that we are putting in place are starting to work. This year was a record year for connections of new renewable power, and that's going to have to increase each year. And as I said, it's not just in the electricity side, it's at home too. We are also on target this year to delivering the upgrades to our homes to make them energy efficient. It's part of this intricate system, as I said. It's not just one old-fashioned, monolithic, single company being responsible for this. Everyone's involved. And those 27,000 homes this year which are being upgraded, and the thousands of homes which are starting to put solar panels on the roof, and the thousands of homes that are putting heat pumps in, that all won't be done in an old-fashioned way where we wait for the ESB to come and tell you what you can and can't do. That never worked in an effective, quick way. Yes, ESB, a brilliant company, fantastic history. I see them thriving, I see them growing, I see them expanding, but they cannot do it on their own. No way possible that you could deliver it. And why would we miss out on the innovation that may come from a variety of companies, Irish companies? Companies like Munster Joinery down in Ballydesmond, down in Slieve Lucra, who are real experts now at building new high-efficiency windows. Companies like Glendimplex, who make heat pumps and have real capability. Are we to say to them, sorry lads, you're out, CSB is going to make it all now or do it all now? Companies like Kingspan, one of the world's leading companies in insulation, we have real capability in this area. And to say that you can't have a private sector, it has to be all nationalised, in my mind, would kill the change we need and would not give us security, would put the price up, would not actually help us deliver what is an opportunity for our people, for we do have in this country a significant resource in renewables which we convert to power and use in our industry in a whole variety of ways, and stop demonising industry, because some of those industries provide the jobs and the tax income that allows us to deliver the education, social welfare, health and other mechanisms that our people need in a modern, thriving, functioning economy. You're not going to make it work. You're going to kill not just the energy system, the climate targets, but actually all the income streams that you need for the social protection. I do believe in a mixed economy where you have both the private sector...
Deputy.
Beg your pardon, Deputy Barry?
The pay-as-you-go families, there's a question asked on their behalf. You've got a minute left.
Could you answer that question, please?
We agreed in Cabinet yesterday that we would provide a further £10 million, which would be targeted for pay-as-you-go families, so that they would access, if they're in need in the Christmas or winter period, in the immediate months, that they will be able to get access so they do not have to switch off. We want no one going cold. We want no one have the ability.
We know that, Minister, but Minister, just on this very briefly, the Taoiseach told the Dáil yesterday that no one would be cut off in Christmas week.
Be fair.
Is there a deal in place with the companies to give people a guarantee, or is he hitting and hoping? Is that a guesstimate?
I met with every one of the companies. I'm with the Vincent Paul, I'm with MABS. The mechanism we're using is we're building on what's working, that we're saying to customers who is at risk, in any way at risk, to contact their energy supply company, and there are means and mechanisms, including the Social Welfare Office, but also this additional fund, a belt and braces approach to make sure that people do not face that prospect. They have resources, and we are
So there's no
providing
guarantee
resources.
and there's no 1 week moratorium,
no
not even a
guarantee,
1
but
week
that's more
moratorium,
important.
Minister.
What's more important?
Not even a 1 week moratorium for the pay as you
Let the
go
Minister
customers.
finish.
It isn't.
That's a disgrace.
No, it's
Minister, your
not.
time is
It's
up.
€10 million additional to the €1.2 billion which
Thank
we're
you.
providing to every household
Thank
through
you.
this winter
Thank you,
period,
Minister.
which
We
the
move
ESRI
on.
said and showed
Thank you.
protects the most vulnerable. That's
Thank
what
you,
we
Minister.
actually
We're
do.
moving to people.